This is something you don't know till you have it. There's two things you don't know. There's a lot more than two. There's three things you don't know until you have a baby. The one is that you didn't grow up yet, because you actually don't grow up until someone else is more important than you. You can't. So people think they grow up if they don't have children, but they don't. They just think they do. Now, there are some people who make sacrifices of other sorts, but this is a whole different ball of wax as far as I'm concerned. It's not a very elegant metaphor, but you learn that it's kind of a relief not to be the center of attention. That's cool, that you can sit back. Because, of course, your child in your family and in society is immediately the center of attention. And so, unless you're narcissistic, then you allow that to happen. And then you learn all sorts of really good things about other people, because other people really like babies. It's so cool. I lived in Montreal when we had our first child, and I lived in a pretty rough neighborhood, by Montreal standards, right? It's like, Montreal is such a great city, like Toronto. It's like even the rough neighborhoods they're more like charming with a little, dark underbelly, something like that. But there were some rough characters in our neighborhood, and it was pretty poor. And we'd push her around in her stroller, and these like grizzled, wrecked old guys would come by, and they'd look at her, and they'd just light up, and they'd come over and like smile at her, and you just saw the positive element of their humanity just well forth. There has to be something seriously wrong with you if you don't respond that way to a baby. I mean, that's not good. That's not good. But it was so cool to see these people. You kind of give them, generally you'd sort of walk 4 feet around them on the street, and yet they were all of a sudden, the layers that were on them would just fall off, and they'd be and the babies are sort of like public property, weirdly enough, too. Sort of like pregnant women, because people often treat pregnant women sort of like they're public property, too. I mean, in a positive way. Oh, wow, look, you're going to have a baby, eh? And then, they do all sorts of cute things. So, the reason I'm telling you that is because there's a strong impulse in people to note that there's something miraculous about the existence of a new human being. And the miraculous element is all the potential that's there, right? That's all there is potential. And with every birth, there's the potential for something remarkable to be introduced in the world. And, one of the things I've thought too is, the other thing you don't know is that babies are generic until you have one. And then your baby isn't a generic baby at all. It's like, instantly it's a person with whom you have a relationship that's closer, perhaps, than any relationship that you've ever had, and that you can keep perfect. Right? Because most of the relationships you've had already are with people who are screwed up in 50 different ways, and so are you. But here you've got this baby, and you care, but it's not ruined yet. And so, you have this possibility of maintaining this relationship that starts out, that baby really likes you, and generally that continues for quite a long time. And if they're 2 years old and you come home, they're really happy to see you. It's kind of like having a puppy, It's like they're thrilled when you come home. It's like, how many people are thrilled when you come home, So it's you again. It's like, no, not a little kid. A little kid is thrilled when you come home. And you can keep that going. And so there's this pristine element to the potential relationship between parents and children that's terribly devalued in our society, it's almost as if we're willfully blind to it. And I think it's an absolute catastrophe, because there's very little in life that can compare to establishing a proper relationship with a child. They make great company if you keep your relationship with them pristine. And so, it's worthwhile. You think, well, and so the reason I'm telling you this is because people look at infants and they think this could be the potential savior of mankind. That is what they think. That's how they act. So that's what they think. And the thing is, it's also true.